So what do you think the best freelancers do to be successful?
Well, there's a few things. Number one, they tap into a network. There's sort of two approaches. There's one that says, "Hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to learn this skill at a very deep level, and I'm going to start freelancing." And I know people that have taken that path, and they might spend a year or two in sort of an education mode. I suggest completely the opposite. I suggest going on to one of these networks, setting up a profile, and learning how to tap into simple jobs. And then you'll get sort of a visceral feel for how hard or easy this is. And then you sort of build up from there. It's like going to the gym, after you haven't been in the gym for a while, you don't want to jump on the heavy weights right away. You want to do some easy lifting to get your muscles and your joints accustomed to that. So bid on jobs that are simple 1 to 2 hour jobs that you can complete in 1 to 2 hours, and have that experience of satisfying clients completely. And as you go through your first half dozen to dozen jobs, which for many people is only the first 30 to 60 days, you will, through that period of time, learn how the online network works. You'll see other jobs in there that are higher dollar jobs that are more appealing, but you're not putting the pressure on yourself to, oh, I've got this $3,000 proposal out, I hope I get it, and that sort of thing. There's just such a river of jobs coming through these networks that whatever you think is the perfect job, there will be another perfect job along in a day or two. And if you know how to find that perfect job, you'll be continuously supplied.
How do people think about, or how should they think about the kind of internal knowledge base they have that they want to include in their profile? What should they include? Like, so for instance, I've done some work with Upwork, and
Uh-huh.
I at one point had a huge 600 bottle wine collection. So I have
Yes.
interest in wine. And I wrote that down, like, interested in wine, whatever. I actually got a proposal from somebody, and I wrote a thing about wine,
Yes,
for
yes.
the
No, that's
first
the
year.
that's the hardest concept we have to teach, is that connection. Buyers do not want to hire the best proofreader in the world or the best writer in the world. They want to hire a proofreader or writer that understands something about their area of interest, like wine, and can write an article. And so that's what they're looking for. So we want to marry those domains of interest, like a wine, with the skill set of writing an article. And that immediately takes the entire universe, of 100,000 jobs on the Upwork system, and pares it down to probably half a dozen people that are looking for somebody who knows something about the wine field in order to do that job.
But how do people go through and sort of assess their own life, their own knowledge base? Because somebody might have a big train collection, let's say, but they're not going to think to put that
Right.
onto a profile, when the reality is there are magazines and publications that
Oh,
want somebody who
absolutely.
understands that stuff. So
Train
how do
collectors is a multi-million-dollar business around the world.
right? So
And
how do
yeah.
you think about that to put it into a profile?
Well, there's a couple ways. One is, in our programs, we have a fairly extensive questionnaire that highlights all these things, but I'll give you a few examples. And the one you gave is a great one. It's hobbies that you've participated in. And it could be a hobby that you did. For example, I did coin collecting in my all through my teens and early 20s. So I know a lot about coin collecting and what's valuable and what's not valuable and that kind of thing. And if I were doing a proofreading assignment for a company that deals in rare coins or something like that, I would pick up things, even though that was 40 years ago. I have a base of knowledge there. And of course, in other domains, we have a much more current base of knowledge, but it could have to do with buying antiques. It could have to do with reading books for the blind or something like that. Every one of these things has a demand typically online. But the question is figuring out how to track yourself to that specific job.
Right. And finally, what kind of advice, if any, do you have for the freelancers who are thinking about, well, what's this going to do for tax issues with me?
Yes, well, the big caveat is that as a company, we don't give tax advice or legal advice, and it's very personal to your particular situation. But we find that what a lot of freelancers do is they wind up setting up their freelance business as either an LLC or a corporation in the United States or whatever similar to that in their countries, because there are certain tax advantages that accrue for business related expenses and that kind of thing. And I will say that as a freelancer, you want to make sure that your personal finances are separated from your business finances, because as you're getting started, it's you want to be very clear about what money is coming from your freelance business and how you grow those opportunities. That's very important as you move forward. But be sure and check with your lawyer or accountant. Now, one thing that can happen, and this is what I did, is when I first started my freelance business in 2001, I sat down with my accountant and probably had a 3-hour meeting with him where I said, well, I could do this or I could do that. And he'd answer questions, and he was very good about answering questions. But in the end, I realized he said, well, just go onto the network, see what you like, earn $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and that would happen. That should happen over a period of the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever it was, and then come back and sit down and say, hey, I'm working on this network. I'm doing proofreading, editing, and writing, and it looks like right now I'm making on an average of $1,200 a month, and based on what I know about this, I think I'd be easily able to run that number up to about $2,500 a month. What makes the most sense for me? And then it might be an LLC, it might be a sole proprietorship, it might be a subchapter S corporation, and they'll be able to give you that advice. And it's very specific advice. It's 20 minutes of accounting time or legal time rather than 3 hours. So that's a way to do that. And as long as you get your taxes put together and file appropriately, it's very easy. And systems like Upwork make particularly tax time very easy because you can go in and print out a complete listing of all the jobs you've done and what you've been paid and that kind of thing. So it provides all your documentation there neatly organized.
Okay. All right, Winton, I think that's all our questions for today. I really appreciate your time.
Great. Great to do it, and look forward to doing it again. Take care.
Bye.